Welcome to the No Schway Out podcast. This is episode 15. Want to thank everyone who's been listening and supporting. This is something, we've been trying out, trying something different, mixing it up, and in the spirit of mixing it up, I am going to try out a new pod concept that I was working on. This episode's kind of like a test run of that. Basically, it's going to be called You Haven't Seen What, something along those lines. And basically, I have friends and other people come on and they end up pitching me a movie that they think I should have seen. When they find out I haven't seen, they're probably going to yell at me. And then we watch, I give my initial thoughts and then we watch the movie together and I give my thoughts after. So I thought, hey, why not start off with the wrestling movie? So today, we are talking about I wouldn't call it a hit film, but Ready to Rumble from, I believe, 2000, 1999 range. A movie with David Arquette and Scott Conn involved with WCW, and they go really, it's an interesting watch, interesting, to put it mildly, but I have my guy, Kevin the artist. He comes on, and also Ed from the band Teen Mortgage, as well as Tired All the Time. They come on and we talk about Ready to Rumble and my initial thoughts of it. We watch the movie and then afterwards we recorded again talking about what we thought after the fact. So I hope you like this concept. I'm debating it turning into a whole separate podcast. So appreciate it again if you can like, subscribe, all that jazz. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but it really does help, guys. And if you want more content and stuff like that, definitely spread the world, spread the word, and help your boy out. So without further ado, here's episode 15 of the No Shway Out podcast. Enjoy. Well, all right, guys. I back for Ed's injured already. We just started.
Let's pull my hair out.
Yeah, so I am currently here, another episode. We're trying out the new concept of watching movies and reacting to it. So I've never seen the movie Ready to Rumble, and today I have two of my friends here to watch it with me for the first time and give their very deep analysis and insight. We have my friend Kevin, the artist. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. And then we have my friend Ed here from the hit band Teen Mortgage, as well as Tired All the Time. Ed, how are you doing, good sir, kind sir?
Doing well.
Doing well.
I'm glad you threw some love to Tired All the Time. That band still exists.
Yeah. Am I not allowed to say hit band?
Might not be accurate.
Rising band.
There we go.
There you go. So, I've never seen the movie Ready to Rumble. I think some of the main reasons I've never watched the film Ready to Rumble is number one would be David Arquette. There's just something about him. Nothing against the guy. It's just hard for me to take him seriously. And then I remember seeing the trailer a while back and just being like, this. It didn't. As much as I love wrestling, it just didn't seem like a cinematic masterpiece. I'm not gonna lie. So I know that might not be the truth, but what are your guys' opinions, having already seen this classic? I'm not doing air quotes, but I would if there was a way to emphasize that through audio. Classic piece of film.
I mean, as far as like any type of love-hate relationship with David Arquette, like for a wrestling fan, this is like the seed event that led to the wide-scale rejection of David Arquette, because the tie-in with this movie is what led to him being on WCW TV, which eventually led to an actor holding the world title.
So that was after the film already released.
It was in proximity to it. I don't know if it was after or before.
Leading up to the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they were doing. I mean, because I think it was like WCW produced.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. So it's like it's really gonna pull you back to like the 2000s like heyday before WCW eventually crashed.
Yeah, that's wild. They spent all this money on a movie and then crashed soon after.
Well, it's kind of like the Netflix and like blockbuster streaming thing where it's like
Mm.
everyone wants to be like, oh, like WWE one, where it's like, no, the like regime change at Turner happened and that person didn't want to be in the wrestling business, so they just lost their TV deal overnight. So the company went from being worth like, some absurd amount of money to like a couple million overnight.
Well, they lost the TV deal, and also it was just I blame Jane Fonda since her and Ted Turner got divorced, and that led to the split of assets, which was the initial domino that fell to the fall of WCW. Um, Eric Bischoff, whether it's true or not, famously was talking about how he wanted to buy it and shop it around to a new network and all that. I'm personally sad that it didn't survive because, history is written by the victors, and you can definitely tell WWF has written off people such as, like, look at Goldberg when it was just WCW, and then look at Goldberg now. Like, he's kind of a joke. Yeah. And a lot of other big names, like DDP too. He was a huge name, and that
especially when the victor buys the company, the rights,
yeah, buys the
back
company
catalog
and buys it for cheaper
yeah.
than it cost for him to pay off a girl who he did explicit things with. I think it was like 2 million, 2.5 million, and they got the whole catalog of everything WCW owned.
I don't think WWE owns Ready to Rumble though.
Really?
I don't think
Probably
so.
not. I mean, I
Probably
wouldn't bank on that because just because produced doesn't mean whatever. I don't know I don't really understand that much about like.
I think if WWE owned that movie, it would be buried, and we wouldn't be able to watch it.
I could see that.
I mean, whoever owns the rights might be more like up to like the studio or something like that.
Well, you saw they just announced a new project that's actually going to be the fall of WCW, executive produced by The Rock and $7 or whatever his entertainment company's called. It's a whole documentary made by the people who made Dark Side of the Ring, but executive produced by The Rock and his company, which is going to be interesting too because obviously Rock, WWF guy, part of the board at TKO that owns WWE, and now is going to do a whole documentary about the competition that he just shit on for a lot of his career. It's just, I don't think it's going to be very non-biased if I had to guess.
Well, I think he was executive producer on Tales from the Territory.
He was.
Too.
Yeah, he was on Tales of the Territory. Yeah. I still need to watch. I watched the first episode. I wasn't really feeling it. I like Dark Side a lot better. Yeah. It just seemed like one of those, you remember that one time?
Yeah.
But, I was just kind of like, versus Dark Side, it's like, I like that instant hit of depression,
It's more fun to watch if you know everyone who's talking.
That's true.
There were a few territories where I was like, I have no idea who a few of these people are.
Right.
Yeah, I consider you a lot more versed in like old school wrestling than me, like at least from my perception of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going back to Ready to Rumble, as someone who's never seen it, A, do either of you like this film? And B, if you do like this film, without giving anything away, how would you sell me on, we're going to watch it regardless, but how would you sell me or someone else who hasn't seen this film about why it's worth a watch? That's a deep question.
I can take it. Like, I mean, I think like you're gonna get that instant like nostalgia pop because it's gonna pull you right back to like the Monday Night Wars,
right?
And you're gonna see, I think, some wrestlers in it too that were just kind of like the B tier wrestlers that you're like, oh shit, like they're in there. So you will get that, and as a elder millennial, like you like nostalgia, right? Like I think you have a whole business.
Yeah, I was about to say it's kind of in the name,
So I think it's gonna pull you back there, and also it's like really in the realm of like wrestling movies, there really aren't a ton, and not ones that are like really produced by an actual company. I mean, like like WWE does films, a ton of films, but they always kind of like they try to use more like their talent as just characters in general, and they try to shop around, so they do shit like the Marine. Like have they actually done a wrestling movie?
No.
Yeah,
but there's like 6 Marine
at least. Yeah, Dolph was it once. Ted DiBiase Jr. had like 2, and Miz had a couple too.
John Cena wasn't.
Yeah, John Cena was the OG. Yeah. I mean, but that's kind of very on point with like Vince McMahon's whole philosophy with WWE. It's like there was a quote, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact, but basically it's like, the difference between me and you is that you run a wrestling company. I'm in the sports entertainment business. I'm in the entertainment business. So like it's more on brand for them to use a John Cena or a Kane in a non-wrestling type role, versus one of the things I used to love about movies in the 90s is you would see a lot of like baseball teams or other teams like teaming up, or even wrestling companies teaming up with movie studios. For example, I believe the movie was called Sudden Death, and it's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where the whole premise of the movie would never be done today, because the whole premise is he's a fire marshal who's working at the Stanley Cup, and some guy, Powers Booth, ends up kidnapping the vice president and putting bombs throughout the entire arena. And one of the highlights of that film is him actually getting in a fight with the Pittsburgh Penguins mascot, where he murders the mascot, and I believe is the basis of the Family Guy chicken fight, was based off of that. So it's like, that movie would never get made today, because companies are like, at the NHL would be like, wait a minute, you want to have a movie about a terrorist event at the Stanley Cup? Not just any event, but the Stanley Cup with all official NHL logos? It would just never happen. Even what Major Leagues with them wearing the Cleveland Indians stuff, that would never happen now.
Yeah, Tubi would buy it.
Tubi would buy anything. No, people would buy it. Just the companies are like, in this day and age, like, we're not going to let us use real logos in any of this. There's so many movies like Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg, where she's the coach of the Knicks.
Oh yeah, and that's a deep one.
Yeah, and there's like shit like that where she's in the locker room and there's all these like naked dudes in there and she's laughing at them, and it's like, yeah, that the NBA would never do that now. You know what I'm saying? There's sort of stuff. Which, by the way, pause to that whole statement I had. But the NBA would like never do that now. There's just certain stuff they just would never do, and WWE would never give that type of, open door. Maybe Tony Khan would. I don't know, but I just don't see WWE really doing that. They like having that separate. Like, they're creating stories. They're creating. It's not as much about the wrestling.
They're
I think they could. I don't know. I mean, I think Vince lost track of who the audience was and who.
Oh, he definitely.
The audience to be.
Yeah, I mean, he was making stuff because he thought whatever he thought was good would work, and you're seeing now the combination of like Triple H's amazing booking, as well as, as much as people hate to say it, like AEW and Tony Khan being there as competition and forcing them to make better product, because the WWE's gotten significantly better during the AEW era because they've had competition. But that's a whole nother conversation. So you're basically saying, getting back to the main point, you're basically saying the main sell point is the nostalgia hit that we're going to get out of this. Scott Conn,
that's the
I think it's the best wrestling movie.
The best wrestling movie.
Yes. As a wrestling fan, I think it's the best wrestling movie because it was made for wrestling fans. If you're not a wrestling fan, there's still comedy in it. You're going to get, but there's, I don't know. I think, it was made with a wink and a nod to people who like wrestling.
I mean, I don't discredit that, but like the wrestler.
I watched the wrestler last night. It's good. There's things that could have done better.
That would be a great podcast, actually. Top 5 wrestling movies.
I think this one exists in an era where I'm trying to think, like, this movie kind of kept kayfabe, right? Like it walks a weird like fourth wall line. With kayfabe, but like they still kind of like treat it really ambiguously in this movie. It's like you're kind of in on it, but not. Yeah. So it's you'll have to see when we go into it, like how it's treated. Which I always love that aspect whenever you're dealing with a wrestling movie and seeing like how they treat kayfabe. Because like it's just one of those like major plot devices, and like we talked about this when we saw Iron Claw. How being like, well, they didn't really directly address it. They kind of kept kayfabe, but like maybe like very subtly, like insinuate the actual nature of wrestling.
Well, I think Kevin brings up an interesting point for someone who, like myself, who hasn't watched it, talking about how it's like most true for like wrestling fans, because as good as Iron Claw and The Wrestler were, they're still like tragedies. They're movies that don't end. Like, they're great movies, don't get me wrong, both of them are great movies, but they're more meant, I feel like, to appeal to try to get awards. Like they're like, oh, this is an Academy.
Well, The Wrestler did.
Yeah.
Did it win best actor?
No,
I
no.
thought it was Best Picture,
No.
but I just may be making that up, rewriting history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was nominated, and that was one of the reasons why Mickey Rourke pulled out of WWE.
Yeah.
Because originally he was supposed to have a thing with Jericho, and he pulled
Yeah.
out because they said that it would hurt his Oscar chances. The irony is that he didn't get it to begin with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that does bring it back to me, that whole thing about how like they were like, oh yeah, he was supposed to be on TV, and then it didn't happen.
yeah,
I mean, it was like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes when that was reliable.
no, like Wrestler was great. I remember watching it. That was good. I still need
Yeah,
to see No Holds Barred eventually.
What was? You
And
gotta watch the movie.
You were talking about that Roddy Piper movie.
Yeah, it's.
While he's doing that, it's like it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. It won Best Lead Actor at the BAFTAs. Won Boston Society of Film Critics Best Actor, Best Song, Best Actor.
I mean,
and I'm not talking about Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, no. I just think it didn't win, and you see, Iron Claw didn't even get nominations, and it's one of those things where a lot of people came out and were like, dude, how are some of these folks not even nominated? I think it's just one of those things where there's still kind of that, I don't know if stigma's the right word, but there's still kind of that like feeling with wrestling where a lot of people don't take it quote unquote as seriously as other mediums of art, even though if you look at it, like, well, these guys are over there not only putting their body on the line, but acting, getting across emotion in the ring and various other storylines in the ring without even saying a word. It's a lot of work.
So,
you know.
So just because I was already off on this tangent, Ready to Rumble, Rotten Tomatoes, 23%.
Yeah.
The website's consensus reads, humor at its lowest that isn't funny for kids and is insulting to adults. As wrestling fans, I think we can weather that insult.
Yeah, I'm not
Roger Ebert says it's wheezy, prefab, Dumb and Dumber antics that felt like there was a misuse of both Platt and Landau.
Oh yeah, Martin Landau's in this movie. He's great.
Wait, Oliver Platt's in it?
Yeah.
There's like, if you really get into the cast, it's like it's so deep between like all the wrestlers that are in it, but then just all the like the
random
cast that's in it.
Yeah.
Was it Scott Kahn's like son?
Scott Kahn is the kid. Yeah, Jimmy Kahn's kid.
Jimmy Kahn's kid.
That's Jimmy's kid. Yeah.
God, who else? Like,
no, this is a different movie.
No, he's looking up that Roddy Piper movie. Yeah. I mean, no, I've been intrigued for a while. I just I don't know.
Rose McGowan's in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Rose McGowan.
And Rose McGowan, like right after the whole Marilyn Monroe thing, or not Marilyn Monroe, Marilyn Manson thing. Where
I think it was during.
During? Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
What year did this come out? 2000?
Probably 2099, right?
Yeah.
I'd guess. You know, right before the Great Fall.
Chris Kanyon makes a cameo appearance at the end wearing an Insane Clown Posse shirt.
Well, apparently Chris Kanyon like choreographed all the fucking.
Oh yeah.
Wrestling in it.
Legend.
Yeah, no, Chris Kanyon's up.
And the 3-tier cage was his idea, and then they actually ended up doing that.
Oh yeah.
On WCW.
Yeah. They were like, we made the fucking cage. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna use it.
Definitely someone who could have been used a lot better in WWE as well. I remember when he came to WWE in the Invasion, I was super like, yo, let's go Canyon, and then it just like went downhill so quickly.
It's been a while since we had a really corny gimmick that was like really impractical and hard to watch. So I can imagine the 3-tier cages up there being like, this is.
Oh, you're talking about a match, not a wrestler. I could name a couple of brutal wrestlers.
Saying the 3-tier cage, it's built like a pyramid. I think they said like once you get to the top layer, because like the pillars are so close together, like taking a bump on it was like taking a bump on concrete. So I think someone screwed themselves up on it.
Yeah.
But that'd be going way into the weeds with like the history.
Oh, okay.
So what are you thinking? Are you sold on it?
I mean, I'm gonna watch it regardless, but yeah, no, I'm more intrigued by Oliver Platt and Martin Landau, you know, the other people in there. And I think, like I said, Kevin's explanation of like, you know, I wasn't expecting the wrestler, I'm gonna be honest, but just like what they were saying, it's dumb. It's like a lot of shit in wrestling people consider dumb, you know, who aren't wrestling fans.
Yeah.
So to me, I kind of feel like, you know, if I'm going to listen to Siskel and Ebert, I'm obviously going to be disappointed because those guys want to see, like, you know, Scorsese movies. They're not really here for, like, anything else. It's like, we just want to see the top of the line type stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm sold. So, what we'll do is, I'll tell people here, if you want to join us, I'm going to pause it and we're going to run some ads. But if you want to watch the movie and then listen to the second half of the podcast, feel free. If not, you can tell me to digitally go fuck myself and not watch it. It's cool. You can just listen. So we'll be back in a few after we've watched all of Ready to Rumble. So enjoy, guys.
Let's go.
Hey guys, Schway here. Appreciate you listening to the podcast. Again, the best way you can support me and support more content like this, like, subscribe, share the podcast, maybe post it on your social medias, maybe retweet something, and perhaps hop on and watch me on Whatnot. You can check out some of my streams. We're doing breaks. We also got some single streams coming up. Make sure to also check out SchwayWrestling.net, a whole community of wrestling collectors, buyers, sellers, traders. So join us. You know, I'll help you sell your stuff if you post it on there. And yeah, join our Facebook group too, Schway Wrestling. If you look it up on Facebook, it will pop up for you. Figuring out how to do a couple breaks on there coming up as well. Got some mixers coming up on Whatnot. Again, appreciate all the support, guys, and hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. All right, guys, we are back with part 2 of the pod now that we have seen the cinematic masterpiece that is known as Ready to Rumble. So, I don't really know. Like I said, should you start the conversation, Ed, and get us moving since you have some nice bullet points for us, or?
Yeah, I mean, I try to do the responsible thing, which I didn't do when we did our first movie conversation with Iron Claw. I actually took some notes.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in this film.
Yeah.
I think every time I've rewatched it, I see stuff that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So I kind of have broken down a couple things. Like, I think if, there's like cameos are just
off the charts.
They're off the charts.
Yeah.
They're legendary. Like I said, every time I see it, there's someone else in that I know who was there.
Let's talk about cameos real quick. I think the biggest, well, obviously getting all the WCW wrestlers in there is great. You know, seeing peak Billy Kidman with the jorts and, you know, the tank top, not speaking, classic Billy Kidman. The guy didn't speak. Seeing Juventud Guerrera, great. Bill Goldberg actually being called Bill Goldberg, which I thought was great because usually I'm just used to Bret the Hitman Hart calling him Bill Goldberg, but hearing someone else call him that, I thought was great. Michael Buffer, Gene Okerlund, who I thought Gene Okerlund was amazing in that movie personally. He had very few parts, but every part he had.
When was Mean Gene not amazing?
Yeah, not that. Well, one, you know, I know you were talking about some of our favorite quotes.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact quote, but Gene looks at one of the characters. He's like, "Am I sexy?" You know, and I'm like, okay, Gene, another side of Gene Okerlund I wasn't expecting to hear. I enjoyed that. And then I think the best cameo, I feel like I should let you say the best cameo because you're the one who told us about the blonde-haired man that was behind Bill Goldberg in a classic scene when they're at the gym.
Oh. Yeah, you mean the high top fade John Cena?
Yeah, prototype John Cena.
Yep.
I never even knew he was in the movie, and this man's in a not only his major picture debut, as far as I know, but in a WCW movie is just next level. I did not expect that at all. I thought that was great because you can clearly see it's him.
Yeah,
like 100%, no questions asked. Definitely John Cena.
He also seemed like one of those, you know, he's supposed to be background talent, but he's definitely like the embodiment of like he can't stop staring at the camera.
Oh yeah, definitely. The man just looking at the camera the whole time.
It's
you know,
like, wait, what? There's. Right.
I mean, if you're him though at the time, you know he might view this as like this might be my only moment. I wonder if he was working out in the power plant at the time, or like
maybe
how exactly they.
Maybe he might have been because that was probably around the same time that Batista left and went to OVW.
Batista's in the power plant too,
very briefly. Yeah.
And it could have been a byproduct of that because he must have been thinking hard cam.
Yeah,
yeah. You know?
I mean, I'd have to say like, you know, of the wrestlers who were in it, DDP was pretty solid as an actor. Goldberg, not so much. Sid Vicious was bad.
I thought Goldberg was better than any promo I've ever seen him give.
That's true. Maybe, you know, the thing with Goldberg is at the end with those like camera angles with him looking up through the cage. It just, that was terrible. And maybe that just left a bad taste in my mouth. It's interesting too how Booker T doesn't talk at all in the movie. He's in several spots.
Yeah.
They didn't pay him enough.
Didn't pay him enough. I'd probably say my favorite character in the whole movie was Martin Landau's character, who trained. What was it? Oliver Platt, isn't that his name?
Platt, yeah.
Yeah, Platt, who was the main guy, Jimmy King, who seems like a ripoff of Jerry the King Lawler, if we're gonna be honest. Him as the Stu Hart Luthez type trainer. You know, I got Stu Hart vibes. I had to look up the Luthez part, but I thought
he kind of looks like Ed Sharkey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was like perfect for that, and some of the quotes this man had were classic. And it's just you're seeing someone who's like an iconic actor of his day around a bunch of people who just can't really act. I mean, David Arquette's whole aesthetic is kind of like, I dome a bong before I go on camera, and that's kind of who I am. That's the vibe I get whenever I see him. Nothing against David Arquette. I'm just saying, like,
I wasn't really getting the like Atlanta vibe, because the King was supposed to be from Atlanta in it. It did sound like he was just doing like a terrible Dusty impression.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He just, I don't know. I don't think Oliver Platt's a good actor. I'm not saying he did a bad job. It's just he doesn't look the part at all.
I think
they could have gotten a yoke dude.
Yeah, they need someone who had like a little bit of muscle to him. You see him. I mean, granted, Jerry the King was never like yoked up, but still.
I mean, I think that kind of like, it seems like he's like an amalgamation of like, I mean, obviously not character wise, but like a Dusty, like an everyman kind of thing. But it's also like Jerry the King Lawler, and Lawler was like big, but Lawler was still kind of like, you know, he wasn't like
he wasn't
physical
shredded
specimen that started turning out.
No, he looked more like a regular, quote-unquote, regular person versus being, like, yoked up. It's also interesting, too, because a lot of the movie, there's guys who are, like, you know, when we'd watch in real life, they'd be like, for example, Diamond Dallas Page, his whole run in WCW, he's a good guy. And then in Red Rumble, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, we got a lot of screen time.
He got a lot
of screen time, no matter how you can get it.
In that velvet shirt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was killing it with the shirt and the shades, man.
Yeah.
Not the best actor. I will say, though, Sting had a great cameo when he finally decided to talk.
Yeah. I mean, it's a part, because, like, I mean, he's in it for maybe more than a cameo, I would say. Like,
Sting?
Yeah.
Yeah, he only talks, like, for 30 seconds to basically, you know, squash dude for having, what was it? Remotely homosexual thoughts. He just was like, nah, bro.
Oh yeah, that
punches the guy in the face.
That goes into my later category that we'll get into.
Okay.
Just kind of like, you know, whenever you're talking about whenever you're talking about a movie that's past like 10 or 20 years, you have to be like, all right, well, there's gonna be some things in here.
Yeah, you're just like, damn, Sting, I didn't know you were anti.
Yeah,
you hate to see it.
I do think that like some of these things that I'm saying are cameos. It'd be like really even saying cameos like a stretch, because like some people were just plain out background actors.
Yeah, like Booker was definitely a background guy.
Yeah, Booker was there.
Disco.
I mean, Disco.
He had a lot of wardrobe things going on.
Dude, Disco. I mean, I kept saying Prince Iakea, but like no one else like seemed to be like.
Okay. I had no idea who that was.
Yeah, me neither.
The artist formerly known as Prince Iakea.
But
that's a deep cut, right?
That's a deep one. Yeah, Disco.
If anyone on the podcast knows who that is, feel free to write in to Schway Is Back.
Yeah, let me know if you guys know who he's talking about.
I do. Why isn't Hulk Hogan in this? I saw this movie in the theater when it came out.
That's a good question.
And I've seen it a bunch of times, and I've never
too much money.
Scott Steiner wasn't in it either.
Well, Scott's a hard one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, even in the background, you couldn't get him kissing his bicep for like 5 seconds.
I would say it'd be great just to have Scott Steiner to talk about why he's not in the movie, because he probably has.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Hulk probably wouldn't want to be in the movie if he wasn't the main character.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't want to be anywhere near anyone else.
He uses his his booking clause in his contract to make sure he goes over Jimmy King in the movie.
Because no one from the NWO well, I mean, Disco was briefly in.
Oh yeah, Razors and
Kevin aren't in it.
I mean, say arguably like the biggest name they had in it was
Goldberg
or
Sting.
Oh, Goldberg.
Probably Sting.
Oh yeah, you know, I'll put my foot in my mouth. I said a lot of inaccuracies. Yeah. I think it's in the beginning of this, I was like, it was produced by WCW. I'm like, not really.
I actually couldn't find anything about
who produced it.
No,
well, it did say that like I know WCW at some point in like in pitching it or something like that. It was definitely like it was written by someone, but you know, it wasn't like the trivia that it was the point of the movie was try to regain like hemorrhaging audience that WCW was having during this time. As Kevin pointed out, what happened shortly after this film was released?
I think 10 or 11 months after this movie was released in theaters, the last Nitro aired.
Which is nuts. You would think a movie would do a little bit more to push ratings. And you were, Ed, you were mentioning, was it the director or the writer? Or was that Kevin? Who's talking
Oh, yeah,
Kevin,
the director of... I think he directed... Or, no, I don't know if he directed and wrote this, but he also directed the Mighty Ducks movies. And, what else? Little Nicky.
You're talking about
Heavyweights. He wrote and directed
Heavyweights to me is one of the most underrated. I don't know about just Disney movies, but one of the most underrated movies from my childhood. You know, Judd Apatow was involved with that too. Ben Stiller, like, classic.
Yeah, it's a great one.
You listed like it was like kind of like nostalgic, like accolade after accolade. That it's like a movie 43. It's just
movie. I stopped naming his credits after movie 43 because the last thing he did was Hubie Halloween. That
I mean, that was recent, so it's still working.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, the fact he turned Ready to Rumble into an actual plausible movie career after that's pretty impressive. Because I would reckon to say it's not his best work. There was a part in the movie, guys, for full disclosure, where we paused the movie because Ed wanted to take a picture of a wrestler he didn't realize was in this product, and
he's more than just a wrestler. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he wanted to take a screenshot of this guy. And as I paused it, I saw there was still like 50 minutes left, and I was like, "Holy shit, we're like barely even halfway through with this."
Yeah, man, you hit a like a fucking vortex. It's like a nostalgia vortex, and time was dilating.
Yeah,
because time was slowing down as you were just going through like cameo after cameo, and just being like, "Oh no!" Like the layers are just like. We're just at cameos right now. We didn't even just get the product placement.
Yeah. Oh my god, the product placement movie's nuts. They kept talking about Butterfingers for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, we get it.
Butterfingers?
They use Butterfinger as a device to get Oliver Platt off screen.
Yeah.
So that David Arquette can talk to Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
Also, he just was like there was like multiple characters that were infatuated with the Butterfingers and naming it as that's my favorite, Sal Bandini.
Oh yeah, Sal, aka Martin Landau, was amazing. I thought he was one of the best parts of the movie. Definitely was a nice addition. Definitely gave the Stu Hart dungeon vibe when they went to go have their little scene with him. Having said that, you know, I feel like they missed out on having a nice montage with Martin Landau and the King. You know, it was right there.
Yeah,
it was teed up. No montage, and the whole movie and stuff like this. Prime montage potential.
They could have had a Kid Rock song blaring.
Yeah,
knowing them would be Kid Rock or Lit.
Yeah,
they kept playing that same. They played that same Lit song twice, and I don't know the name of it, but if you're listening to this, it's the only Lit song. Yeah, it's the only Lit song that matters.
My Own Worst Enemy.
Yeah.
No, they've got another hit.
Yeah. No, the other one is good. Are we singing the same one?
What is this song? Is it Miserable?
Yeah. That's the one.
They've had more than one hit.
Well, but most people know the Worst Enemy song. That's by far their most popular song.
The chorus to the other song is a cum joke.
Yeah. Again, firmly placing firmly placing it in the time period when this movie was created.
Yeah, it's definitely I would say the movie's definitely catered, like you had mentioned before, Ed, it's definitely catered towards like a wrestling fan. Like I don't feel like I could show this to someone who's not into wrestling and they like 9 out of 10 people I think would just not be into it at all.
I think I've shown it to people who don't watch wrestling and disregarded if they enjoyed it. Because
as you should. As you should.
Like, I wouldn't show this to my brother. There's no way. I'd show him Iron Claw.
You can use this
I
movie.
would not show this to my brother.
You could use this movie for profiling purposes and being like you're not getting the invite to you know,
Ed's Wrestling Barbecue. The plate's been rescinded.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think like like we'll get to the quick here. This movie is not ostensibly a good movie, and I would say when we're like getting into the nitty gritty about talking about pacing and missed opportunities, this whole movie
is a missed opportunity.
Plotline is just like tangents that are just kind of like brought up and then like kind of collapse on themselves, and it's like there's no real like there's some character development with the king. It's just, but everything's just kind of wrapped up very chaotically. It's like,
yeah, David Arquette's law enforcement family and
his
Yeah,
family, which it's weird, and then also they're like, you know, the main character Jimmy ends up losing his title. They bring him back. He ends up assaulting DDP, even though he's not part of the storyline.
yeah,
And they offer him a title chance at a pay-per-view. Don't mention anything about money. And then next thing you know, they're talking about how he could win $1 million for winning the title.
It was the porta potty thing where
Yeah.
he attacked him, and I don't remember if we were talking and we missed him say the $1 million thing,
we're 100%
or
off.
the next.
I don't remember the $1 million thing. Either way, there's a lot of missed opportunities. There's also a lot of time spent on various just
Lots of Nitro Girl screen time.
well, not just Nitro.
Not bad,
That's,
not bad.
I was gonna say Nitro Girl Scream, but what I was really gonna say is just a lot of like sex and poop jokes.
Oh yeah, the first like 30 minutes is pretty much all poop joke.
Yeah, because the
Yeah.
two like there's Jimmy King, the wrestler, who's one of the main characters. Then you have David Arquette and Scott Conn, I believe Scott Conn,
Yeah.
the son of Jimmy, who are like the real two main characters of the story, who work as sanitation workers who clean out porta johns. So there's just a lot of like really gross poop type stuff, like them eating next to their poop truck that's leaking like poop sludge as they're eating a hamburger.
I mean, that's one of the more enjoyable parts.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's not a
like-
good sign. That's not a cosign. I mean, that's a better part. That's not a cosign.
this movie is like, we get down to brass tacks. This movie is about product and brand placement.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
First and foremost, like,
Right.
first and foremost, it'd be like WCW, but then aside from that, it's like all the aforementioned, like Coke and
Nestle.
Nestle.
Yeah, but it's funny. I didn't even
Frito Lay.
I didn't think about the whole fact that NWO is just not in the product until you mentioned it.
The,
'Cause
yeah.
the only
You see the
NW,
shirts.
yeah, the only. Well, I think like.
I don't think there was there a shirt. NWO
yeah, I
shirt?
saw shirts in the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, in the crowd.
Yeah, I saw shirts in the crowd. There wasn't any actual like showing of people wearing NWO shirts who were wrestlers or any of like the main wrestlers that I knew from NWO. Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
no Hogan, no Hall, no Nash,
No.
nothing like that. And then it just seemed like, how could you do a WCW movie without NWO, especially during that time? But I guess it's interesting because the WCW wrestlers in real life were like the quote-unquote faces going against the cool heels of NWO.
Yeah.
They get rid of NWO, make all the faces into the bad guys for the movie. So like, if you watch the movie and then watch the WCW product, you'd be probably massively fucking confused.
Yeah, I mean, it'd
Yeah.
be hard to even. I couldn't even remember like who was what during that period of time because I think I
Right.
was starting to kind of like
Dude,
go through
Disco
my.
Inferno was a good guy. Like, come on.
I think Disco was just. I guess maybe yeah. I guess he was just there.
Dressed like Buff Bagwell too.
Yeah.
Buff wasn't in it.
Yeah, Buff wasn't in it.
Which is weird to me. Like, I thought Buff would have been in it. Like, he was, to me, when I think of a kid, Buff's one of the main WCW people I think of.
He was NWO though.
Yeah. So, like, they just got rid of all of NWO, but I'm just saying, like,
Conan was in there,
yeah.
but I don't even know if Conan was in NWO at that time. So he'd already like.
Well, at one point
Split off.
everyone was, and then
Yeah, literally almost everyone.
Yeah.
like Virgil was in NWO.
Yeah, so wasn't Ted DiBiase in that shit, too?
Dude, Virgil
He
got-
might have been.
Didn't
Yeah,
Virgil
he showed
get
up
into
a
the
little bit.
game too? He got into like the revenge games.
Did he? I don't know.
World Tour and Revenge. I'm pretty sure Virgil's the character. Yeah.
Yeah, they literally were signing everyone from WWE back then, or WWF, you know?
Yeah. Man. Yeah. So, where were we at here? We were still on cameos.
Yeah.
Well, we've gone off on tangents as I knew this was going this way.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they have Joe, I think it's Joe Pescatano is his name, or Pesciano,
Yeah.
some shit like that, from The Sopranos as the
As Eric Bischoff.
as the
yeah.
Eric Bischoff as character. You know, one thing that we kind of touched on before the movie, but now that I've watched it,
Yeah.
it's interesting how they deal with kayfabe, and it's interesting how it's like
Right.
you could the way they talk about it, especially during that time, it's like they're talking about it in business terms with other wrestlers, like, you know, when they had Oliver Platt and DDP wrestling each other in the ring, and they're like calling the match on the fly, and then like DDP punches dude, and the guy's like, yo, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And it turns, they have shoot moments within
it
the
kind
whole
of
movie.
yeah, it basically turns into a shoot towards the end. So it's like, let's say it's not really fourth wall breaking, but it's like it's a weird way of handling kayfabe, being like, no, they really do go at each other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In the right moment.
It's like it's it's fixed, but what is real?
Yeah. I mean, hey man, I love people say wrestling's fake, and I'm like, so is Captain America real then?
To me, he is.
Yeah, because you watch Marvel movies, it's like the same shit, bro. It's all scripted. Like, who cares?
You still vote.
Yeah. Too soon, bro.
Oh, we're living in a dystopian hell.
Anyways, Morty's saying hi to me. But yeah, like overall,
What's your takeaway? Give us your impression of the film as the first time.
So here's my rating. There's gonna be a couple categories. I'll fine tune this once I do more of my movie pods that I'm hopefully working on. Is basically like not watchable, watchable, rewatchable, right? And then maybe I could have one if it's like really fucking good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd rewatch it. It's one of those things like I'd rewatch it if I had friends who want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like I would go out of my way to watch it. Like I might now since you were very nice and paid for our rental to watch it at.
It's there now. You got it for 30 more days.
I got it for a little bit longer.
No, it's 48 hours.
Yeah, I don't know if it picked. I don't know if my teeth sucking picked up on the microphone.
Oh yeah, Ed's not happy about my.
It's too bad we're not filming this, so that one you could see this lovely kitchen that we're in.
I know, right?
But also you could just see the look on Kevin's face as well as mine as we're just like looking at you in disbelief.
They're so disappointed. It's just all right.
I don't believe. It's not just disappointment. It's like. Yeah, I don't know if I believe you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. For me, like, oh man. All right. I'm going to heal you a little bit. As someone who went to digital film school, watching that was, like, very brutal at times. There's certain parts where I'm like, all right, this is good.
And someone that knows nothing about film, cinematography's really fucking rough.
Oh,
I do think the refresh rate on like this crisp television like kind of does make some of it a little like more off. It wasn't you don't have it set super high, but it was enough where it's like I was going like, oh, it's a little weird.
It's not even that though. It's just like you're watching the movie and there's certain parts, and I don't know who you necessarily blame for this because I'm sure the director did the best with what he was given, and then like there's an editor and all that, but I feel like there's just like a lot of missed opportunities where they could have added certain stuff or did stuff a little different that could have made the movie a lot better, such as the montage scene or such as like, just I felt like a lot of moments kind of dragged on, and a lot of the scenes kind of accomplished the same things as other scenes, and they like doubled up, and I could have like, 50% less on the poop jokes.
It leaned heavily into those.
Yeah, it was just.
I think this movie is also
a product of the time
and mildly for children.
I don't know, man. You saw all the Nitro Girl scenes. There's like a whole like.
But I mean, even the scene where they're like peeking into the Nitro Girls' locker room, it's not like super risque.
It's not super risque, but it's definitely like
this does
creepy.
Yeah, this segues into my other point, which we touched on a little bit earlier. Is just like whenever you're talking about something from like a decade or more back, you're like, oh, how is this translating now? And like,
right,
definitely the whole like overt male gaze, like sexualization shit that was going on. It's just like it wasn't too bad. Like
it definitely could have been
there.
It's like, still there, but I mean, I'm saying
it's like the P.
It's a movie.
It's the PG
you could take your teenage wrestling fan child to see.
But like for example, like for the part they had Rose McGowan in, it's like why even have her in the fucking movie? You know what I'm saying?
Well, how did you describe when they actually went to go have something that was like set up like it's going to be an intimate scene?
How did I describe it?
Yeah.
It was like, they were these pervy boys watching the girls in their dressing room. And then they were just like, I mean, they both have sex, but they're like totally non-sexual characters. They're just like oblivious idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Roger Ebert might have been a little spot on with the Dumb and Dumber reference. Because some of the times you're just like, holy shit, bro, you're brutal. She's like, oh, I want to see your moves, and then he like fucking clotheslines her or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah.
He might have also got the Scott Conn in like a zoot suit at the end too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind
electric red zoot suit.
Yeah.
Very Dumb and Dumber.
Looking like the Godfather.
See, I would just love to like interview Scott Conn and just be like, so, you went on to do a lot of like bigger films. What was going through your mind as you were in Ready to Rumble, and like, did you think that this helped your career? You know what I mean? Because he went on to do Ocean's 11 and a lot of other like pretty big pictures. So for him to do that, and then I don't know, it's just, again, I'm sure David Arquette's a nice guy. I have nothing against him personally, but when he's doing the character that he's doing in this movie, it just makes me not take him seriously. I'm also, wrangling my dog now so it doesn't hump Kevin, because Morty seems to really love Kevin today.
Yeah, speaking about advances,
inappropriate
conduct, like, he's a dog.
Yeah. Martin Landau is great. There's a lot of great stuff, but it's just one of those things where, I'm happy I watched it. Do I feel the need to watch it again? Not really. Would I watch it with like my godson or other people who are wrestling fans who've never seen it before? Yeah. If you guys wanted to rewatch it, yeah, I'd rewatch it. Would I go out of my way to rewatch it? No.
No, I think this is one of those ones where it's like, if it was like, if people actually watch TV anymore, you'd be like, you'd watch it just to see it. Like, that's kind of thing is like, especially it's one of those things where it's, you haven't seen it before.
It's such a time capsule.
You gotta see it.
It's a time capsule. You see it. Everything is just such like a throwback. Like you've been saying, the Butterfinger, the branding of all like everything in there. You're seeing the old Doritos bags.
I love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, even they had like one of the things I just remembered I loved was like that fight scene that David Arquette like kind of daydreams when he's having brain freeze, where he's fighting the store clerk at the beginning,
who's Frank Zappa's son,
who's apparently Frank Zappa's son, and he's also fighting the Macho Man Randy Savage, who the only part of the movie he's in is that part, which is fascinating. But they're fighting, and it's just, I don't know, he's throwing the dude into the freaking whatchamacallit, the shelves, and there's like Snackwell boxes. And I'm like, holy shit, I haven't seen Snackwell in forever. Like those chocolate cookies back in the day, the devil cookies, those joints used to bang, and it's just gone.
It's a very meta enjoyment, I would say. It's like, again, like, essentially it's not a good movie, but like, I would say every time I watch it, especially if I'm paying attention, like, my enjoyment of it goes up and up. It's like, when I saw it, it's like I kind of thought the same thing, where I was like, this is like,
I will
like,
go ahead, Kevin.
I will say why I think it is the best wrestling movie is because
the best wrestling
outside of the 80s, there has not been a movie for wrestling fans to enjoy and be like, yeah, wrestling is fun. Everything is about how sad and horrible and lonely the end of their lives is. And, that's true, but that's not the whole of
it's getting the DC treatment.
It's
everything's getting like, dark hued and color graded.
Yeah.
I would say, like, if you want to see a happier wrestling type show, I'd highly suggest Heels, because
I liked Heels.
Yeah, Heels. Yeah. Like, I still need to finish some of. I believe it only went 2 seasons. They're talking about bringing it back, but it's not like happy all the time. But it shows like
I like CM Punk's character in it.
Yeah, CM Punk's not bad. That guy who's in The Wire, who's in it, who shit himself, is bad. I forgot his name, but like, I definitely feel you on that. It's definitely like, a wrestling fan movie. It plays a lot of lowbrow type stuff, which I'm not like super surprised on. I just felt like there's certain stuff they could have done better.
Oh,
I also,
and I have nostalgia glasses about, because I saw it when I was 11 years old. And I watched WCW, and I was like, this movie is amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I had to hide watching wrestling as a kid. I will say, one of the most enjoyable parts of the movie actually wasn't on the screen. It was how, in my opinion, sorry buddy, how unreasonably happy Ed was when Canyon showed up at the very end in the crowd wearing an Insane Clown Posse t-shirt. Ed lit up. He was so happy. It was a cool moment. I was happy for him.
Waiting the entire movie. Like, one, Canyon's in the movie probably, like, one of the... He's
in the movie probably more than anyone, because he's
the main
Oliver Platt's stunt double.
Yeah, so every time Oliver Platt takes a bump, he loses like 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. And gets like 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, it's not even, this is pre-CGI days. It's not even covered up like remotely. It's just like, oh, you're like, oh, that's Canyon.
They're like, hey, Canyon, you're big. You've got the same beard. You got it.
Yeah, you got this.
And apparently, I believe it was you, Ed, was saying that Canyon came up with the humongous finish ending, or was that you?
I think, I'm pretty sure that he was the one who came up with it.
Yeah.
The triple cage.
Yeah, which that was nuts, because that bump DDP's character took at the end where he fell through all 3 cages, like, if that was real, he probably would have been crippled.
Yeah, he might have.
I was reading the Wikipedia before we were doing this and just seeing like there was some angle where someone got like Chris Candy got thrown off. It was like paralyzed or something.
Oh my god, yeah.
I'm very foggy and all the stuff around that period of time. Saying this was like right when my time with wrestling was like sunsetting for a while before I had the resurgence in the last couple of years.
I feel like most people had like a break from wrestling where they watched pretty heavily when they were like younger, and then kind of like took a break, and then something brought them back. I always tell people when I'm streaming on Whatnot, when they ask me about that, I'm always like, yeah, like AEW got me back into wrestling just because I had a friend tell me about. He's like, hey, do you ever see Kenny Omega versus Okada? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he showed me on YouTube. I'm like, oh, this is dope. And then I saw Kenny. I followed Kenny. I saw him joining AEW.
Yeah.
I saw Chris Jericho in it. And I'm like, oh, I used to love Jericho. And next thing you know, I hate Jericho, and I've been watching AEW for 5 years.
Yeah. Dude, I have like a really cool Jericho like early WWF shirt, and I don't want to wear it in public because of how I feel about Jericho now. It's like
I don't like the learning tree.
Well, now
it's like maybe once he retires, like
it
will be his latter-day sins will be vindicated, but I can't wear it in public right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Tony Khan's been wearing his Jericho shirt for a couple months now. He threw everything, so they're going through it. Trying to think what else as far as Ready to Rumble.
Oh, inappropriate stuff. I was still going off on that because probably like the most problematic character for me was David Arquette's dad in it, who is supposed to be his like.
He's a sheriff.
He's a sheriff.
His whole family is police officers.
Yeah.
Sister, mom, dad, all dressed the same as sheriffs.
Yeah. And all of them are problematic. Like, our introduction to his character.
This is the dad.
And he shows up, slams Scott Conn on the hood of his car, and then sexually assaults him by grabbing his nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like...
Firmly.
Right.
And then you find out that he's the father of his best friend, so you just have this father that shows up and grabs your best friend's penis.
Right, and that's also coming off of the previous scene
with Macho Man.
Well, even before that, where David Arquette just for some reason sticks his finger up his own asshole.
Yeah.
And I wish I was joking when I said that, but that's legitimately
that was like felt like a Mallrats
and they
reference.
Oh yeah,
chocolate covered pretzel. Yeah,
about to say
it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like direct ripoff.
Yeah,
you know the guy who ate the chocolate covered pretzel was not. I forgot his real name. He was in Walking Dead. Michael Rooker. Also, DePaul graduate where I went to college and currently in grad school. Yeah, he was in the intro video when I was there for orientation week.
He's in this really wild movie called Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh man, it's on my queue.
It's a rough watch. It's really good. It's really good.
Look forward to.
But when the movie's over, you're like, man, I don't think I'm ever gonna watch that again.
That's how I feel about Ready to Rumble.
This is a different kind of
I definitely love a good movie, especially when you see it in the theater where it ends and no one says anything.
Oh yeah, just get up and walk out.
Everyone's like, well, that just happened.
Yeah.
This is super random, but have you ever had to walk out of a movie?
I walked out of 8 Crazy Nights.
Wow. You know I'm Jewish, Kevin.
It wasn't. I was with my Jewish friend.
Wow. His singular Jewish friend?
Dude, I'm from Montgomery County. All my friends were Jewish. 8 Crazy Nights, and then the Superman movie with
Brandon Routh.
No, with
Jim Caviezel?
Witcher, Henry Cavill.
You didn't like that one, really?
It was, well, one, it was like 3 hours long, and I was waiting for this girl I was seeing to get off work, and it was just like the last 40 minutes. I was like, I gotta go.
Interesting. I actually like that movie.
I like all of the young Clark Kent stuff in that movie. I think that's really good, but I think it's too long. I think 3 hours is too long for a superhero movie.
I'm not mad if I like it. I would say, like, the only movie I've ever walked out of was the Frank Miller adaptation of The Spirit. And
I heard that was horrible.
And I walked out
I never
because I went with 2 friends from high school, and they sold me on the fact we were actually going to go see The Wrestler. So I was all hyped, and I'm going...
Not The Wrestler.
Yeah, and we go to Georgetown, and we're about to buy tickets for The Wrestler, and then my one friend who's with us, there's 3 of us, convinces the other guy we should see The Spirit instead of The Wrestler. So I'm blown, because I only went out to see The Wrestler, but I don't want to go see it by myself. So the 3 of us are in there, and Samuel L. Jackson, 20, 30 minutes in, walks out wearing a Nazi costume, and I was like, I'm out. And I just walked out. The second I saw Sammy J wearing the Hitler costume, I'm like, I'm good. A little much.
Cheap Heat, brother.
Yeah, cheap Heat.
I will say, like, you know, just a little bit into my backstory. I wasn't raised with means, so if we paid for a movie, even if I fucking hated it, I was probably gonna sit there and endure the entire thing. So I've never walked out of a movie.
I just got called out on my privilege on my own podcast.
Both of you guys.
Yeah. I'm being privilege shamed on my own podcast.
I'm also a fan of strong taste, so even if it's terrible, I'm like, all right, this is an experience. Let's deal with it.
It's valid. I've been to stuff I don't and watched stuff I don't like, but I'm like, you know, it's a cultural experience. You got to learn.
But I do have a good story about watching other people walk out of a film.
Oh, okay.
We went to go see Pan's Labyrinth.
That's a good movie.
It was not really advertised that the movie was in Spanish.
Yes. So we made it through like a few minutes before the front row got up and said, fuck this shit, man.
Yeah.
If I wanted to read, I would have went to a fucking library and just dipped. Like, it was like 8 people left all at the same time.
I had that same, because I went to go see that movie in the theater, and it wasn't, I think there was no dialogue in the trailer or something. Yeah. And then it started, it was in Spanish, and I was like, oh, I'm in it now.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. I had, like, when I was in undergrad, I had a bunch of friends that were, they're all Japanese, and I was like, we went to go take them to a movie, and I was like, well, they can read English, but it's like, you know, this a bunch of them were, like, spotty.
Yeah. And
same thing with, like their comprehension. I was like, okay, like, well, let's just take them to something where there's a lot of explosions.
Right.
So I think we took them to see, like, X3. Like the third X-Men.
Oh, okay.
And then you realize you're like, oh no, there's actually like all this weird like plot devices of like this being like kind of political and like there's like civil rights elements to it.
Well, I mean, it's like X-Men as a story is all based around civil rights.
Yeah.
The whole premise is mutants, it's racism, you know.
Yeah.
My best, not me walking out story, and then we'll get back to Ready to Rumble. I went to go see Team America World Police when I was a kid. I convinced my mom and my aunt to take me. So it's me, my two parental units with me, and then it's like 6 other people in the theater. And there's this one scene where one of the characters throws up for like an exceptionally long time.
Yeah, it's legendary.
Legendary, yeah. 4 of the 8 people in the theater were so disgusted they walked out. And the irony to me is those are probably the same people who are going to pay money to see Book of Mormon. Happily. Just saying. You know? Just saying. As far as Ready to Rumble, did we have any more points here? I know we've kind of gone on random tangents, guys. Again, figuring out this whole movie premise, deciding if I want to make this its own separate podcast.
I said we should take notes. I took notes.
You did take
notes. I was going to watch it last night and take notes and prepare, and then I was like,
we can and will do better.
Next time, I think we should watch the movie separately before and take notes.
Well, no, the whole point to me is like, all right, hypothetically.
I like watching it with everyone.
I still will, but you know,
you're not, because we're gonna come across one.
I'm not as vocal as you guys, so I need a little extra preparation.
So
I might do it.
I'm actually charting out my podcast now because I've told you, like, I have this podcast, the No Schway Out podcast. If I make that second podcast, I might re-put this episode in that new podcast where it's basically about movies, where it's called, you know, you haven't seen what, and this would be in there. So like what I wanted to do was like, if y'all want to take notes, if it's a movie that you've seen and I haven't, I don't want to watch it before I watch it with you guys. Because to me, I want to get that raw, like, we literally just watched the movie, went to the bathroom, and then started recording. There wasn't like a day in between. There was no marinating. This is literally just the thoughts coming out right now. Having said that, I highly doubt in a week I'm going to be like ready to rumble better than I thought. You know what I mean? I still feel the same. Like, I probably would not rewatch it unless like someone I knew was into wrestling and really wanted to watch it, like you said, as a nostalgia bomb.
Yeah, I think also just like a lot of these movies that we're gonna watch are probably gonna be best enjoyed with like the Mystery Science Theater kind of like level of enjoyment, because some of these are gonna, if you try to watch them earnestly,
well,
yeah, I mean,
my hope would be is like, in the perfect world, right, I have a guest come over. I was telling this to Kevin while you were gone for a second. I'd have a guest come over, I'd put him on the pod, I'd be like, hey, tell me your 5 favorite movies or 5 movies you think I need to watch. And then we don't even know what we're going to watch that day. And then I'm like, oh, I've never seen that. And then people tell me I'm a piece of shit for never watching it. And what the fuck's wrong with you for not watching that movie? And then I watch the movie with them and record after the thoughts. But I wouldn't even be opposed to doing like a live stream watch along on like Twitch or something, where people could live watch with us, or whoever my guest is, and then like we could do the Mystery Science Theater thing while we watch it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me would be like my ideal setup, because I think that would be fun, because then people could get involved in the actual thing, and then I could be like, oh yeah, so and so, you know, for example, my good friend Winna, shout out Winna, one of my guys off Whatnot, he's always coming out supporting. If he was in the chat and he's like, oh, what about this? That gives us more material to talk about after the fact, and it gives people something to look forward to because they feel a part of it because they watched it with us.
I like that you're giving a rundown of business strategy and proposals. Just it's canon. It's all on the podcast.
I mean, Ed, if there's one thing you learned about me on tour, is that I'm always trying to find new opportunities to innovate and do different types of things.
Yes.
You know, I'm not trying to be complacent over here, you know. Before Ed met me, this man didn't think his signature was worth anything. Now look at you.
I know it's we're gonna go down a deep hole there with like,
hey man, my friend Ed's over, brother. You know, he's getting over.
I'll say my signature did get bigger by the end of the tour because you were having us sign stuff. It really saves a lot of time, particularly at the end of the shows.
Oh yeah.
And like, really, I think with how we're going right now, it's like it's really hard to find both of us at the end of a show if you want something signed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, you know, James isn't really trying to talk to people after yelling on a mic for 40 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be one of the reasons.
Yeah, that would definitely, like, you know, I can imagine being in like the equivalent of going to the gym, having a heavy workout, and then people being like, hey, can you like sign shit for me? And it's like, I kind of want to go take a nap and shower, like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I don't get about the AEW press scrums. I'm like, dude, these people, just go home, you know, let them go home.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
we're on a lot of random tangents here.
Yeah.
That's why you just edit it out, man. Just keep
No,
it all in.
we're gonna keep it all in. Yeah, fuck it, we're going live like O'Reilly.
Yeah, we're gonna keep in that racist tirade you had.
Oh no. I took all that stuff out. You know, I'm not trying to get no such thing as halfway canceled, my guys. You're either canceled or you're not canceled. Jericho's trying to do that halfway cancel thing. You know, it's kind of working for him, but not really. I see people saying they like the learning tree. I can't really do it. But
he took something from Cornette podcast. They've been like calling like the vortex of Jericho, of like people getting stuck in, and then he started using that on TV.
Hey man, use what you get.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I'll give the man credit. You know, like a lot of people would probably just be like, "Fuck it," and I'm not obviously condoning any of the proposed allegations or anything like that, but Jericho's constantly willing to like change himself up, and a lot of people are not willing to take chances at all. They're like, this is my character, I'm just rolling with it. And a lot of guys who do, like, you know, they can't reinvent themselves.
I don't think a lot of those guys have the freedoms that
Well,
Jericho has to do whatever he wants.
Well, now he can do whatever he wants. But I'm just saying, even in WWE, like he was wearing the pants, he had the long hair. He left, he comes back, he has short hair.
The short hair was a mistake.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I wasn't watching a lot about that time, but a lot of that Festival of Friendship stuff I saw was amazing shit.
I never saw any of that stuff.
Oh man!
I mean, no matter how you feel about him, he's maintained some level of like upper tier relevancy.
Oh, for a long time.
Like,
because he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was really good.
He's run his course in AEW, I feel like, but
I don't think he's.
No, he's not done. To me, he's run his course.
I think he could leave for 6 months and come back, and people would pop for him.
I don't know if he'll do that.
I
mean, if anything,
I think he knows it's because he's gonna retire, and he's just trying to get every bit in that he can.
Oh, I mean, taking 6 months off for him right now would probably be brutal. Coming back, I remember listening to Tommy Dreamer on Busted Open, and he was talking about how he when he was really in the wrestling stuff, if he took time off and then started doing bumps again, it would hurt so much worse than if he just had stayed taking bumps that whole time.
It's like desensitized and nervous.
Exactly. It's like, oh, we got comfortable not doing this. Oh, I forgot this is terrible. Yeah. All right. Well, besides giving away potential business strategy and all this stuff, ready to rumble. Any final thoughts? I'll give my final thoughts, of course. But was there any final thoughts you wanted to impart on you? Any other things that we didn't touch on?
Well, since I watched The Wrestler again last night, I will say this movie is much more fun to watch than The Wrestler. It's very sad.
It's a good movie, but very sad.
Very sad.
That last scene where he's jumping off the rope, and they're like, "Don't do it," and he jumps, and then it just ends. I was like, beautiful.
Well, it's also just sad, this guy who was a huge star, and then he's doing fucking. But that's CZW matches, getting staples in his chest.
That's the story of so many people, man.
Yeah, I know.
There's no retirement plan in wrestling. Yeah. At least there wasn't. There might be now, but back in the day, dude, it's crazy seeing some of these guys now get these crazy ass contracts, and you see some of the big dudes from back. There's no reason folks like Jake the Snake and Hacksaw should have to beg on GoFundMe to get medical bills covered for the amount they did for WWE and other promotions. To me, that's disgraceful.
I would so as far as the movie goes,
happier stuff.
I think it's for wrestling fans. I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
I don't think, that being said, I think if you show this to someone that's in their 20s, they're not going to get it because they were just not around when WCW was a thing. So they'll get aspects of it, but they're not going to get the full enjoyment.
That's valid.
I do think you need to be of a certain age to kind of really get the full flavor.
I think my godson would like it though. You met Mikey. Mikey knows most of the rest. I don't think he knows this one.
Is it rated PG-13 or is it rated?
But
PG-13.
His take on it's going to be well, that's a goofy wrestling movie. It's not going to be all the levels of being oh no, there's Prince Iakea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have no idea.
Yo, is that Rey Mysterio without his mask?
Dude, is that
Rey Mysterio still wrestles, so you showed it to a young person.
Yeah, the fact they had Rey in there at the beginning, that was the only scene
that was in the
beginning.
I think that was the only scene he was in.
And he's maskless.
Yeah, I mean Rey was big back then, but he wasn't like legend level,
Yeah.
When I was a kid, Rey was one of those guys where I knew very minimal of him, but everything I had seen, I was like, whoa, this guy's cool. And I used to, I remember I really wanted him to go to WWE or WWF at the time. I was like, yo, this would be awesome. So when he showed up, I was like, hype. But, after a while, I just kind of stopped caring.
When the NWO stuff got stale, and it got stale pretty early,
they added way too
There was maybe 6 months where it was cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was the best matches were at 8 and 9 o'clock because those would be the cruiserweight matches. So at the beginning of the show, it would be Jericho or Eddie or Benoit or Malenko or who any of the Mexican dudes, and then they'd have be again at 9 o'clock. So it was 8 and 9 were both really good matches, and that's how the show was structured.
Yeah. No, I just. To me, NWO, if it just had stayed at the 3 of them, it would have been fine. Maybe add 2 others max, but dude, they added a whole fucking roster.
And supposedly Hogan, it was supposed to be Sting, was supposed to be the 3rd guy.
Yeah, no, I heard that Hogan at the last minute was what if it was me, bro?
Yeah.
Which to me, yeah, right. Hogan though, it makes sense. I don't know. I kind of, we talked about this earlier. Like, I wish Cody would turn heel on folks. It's way too early in WWE, but folks like him, like Cena with the jorts, like a lot of these guys, like I think it would be that much better. Low key, I wanted at Mania. One of the things I thought would have been cool instead of Cody just winning was if Cody went up and shook The Rock's hand, and then The Rock basically like didn't attack him and just walked out of the ring.
Yeah.
And then like he ended up pinning Roman after shaking The Rock's hand because it's like corporate Cody. It works out so. Because if you looked at it on paper, you have this guy Cody who looks like the personification of white privilege versus Roman Reigns, a 2-time cancer survivor. And we're supposed to believe the 2-time cancer survivor is the bad guy.
Well, he's the heel.
Yeah, he's the heel, but I'm just saying, like,
the heel group.
If you just wrote it on paper and had that out, it looks like you'd think it's the opposite way around.
Because it doesn't define him.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's more than just a cancer.
Well, on that note, guys, overall, I'd say Ready to Rumble. I'm happy that I watched it. Am I sad I waited this long to watch it? Not really. Would I rewatch it? If someone wanted me to, yes. But if I had to pay to rent it like Ed did, probably not.
I broke the bank. I think it was
$3.99.
Yeah, Ed took one for the team because I was trying to stream it off of some random website, and Ed's like, "Yo, I got you, my guy. Flip me the 5."
I did the math. And the amount of time you were spending looking for a free version of it that didn't look like turds. I was like, I think you wasted more time of mine than $4 worth. So let's just take the $4 and.
Dude, all I'm saying is, if this was 1920s, I'd be blushing right now.
Yeah.
$4, dude. It's like
what was you said? How much did Bruce Buffer get for the
$5K?
Yeah.
Which is probably like $15K now. So
yeah,
this should have been like a tax write-off for you too.
Also, oh right. Also, again, I know I said before we go, there was a scene where the main character Scott Conn and David Arquette crash their poop mobile that they use to take out all the excrement from the porta-johns on the road, and then all that poop stuff goes everywhere. And what would happen next? A truck full of toilet paper somehow crashes next to it. Why?
That's a good bit.
Like,
it's a good bit.
I was a little like I wasn't looking for it at the time, but like, did we catch if it was a Charmin truck or something like that?
It was not branded.
It wasn't branded.
No.
Yeah, missed not
branded. It was the only not branded thing.
They could have had Charmin.
It's like it's just one. It's like it's basically how I feel about the movie. If there was one word to describe the movie, to me, it's just why. Just why?
Why not?
That exactly.
American Pie came out. They were like, "Hey, let's make this with wrestling."
They also had Sherman, the Shermanator from American Pie, in it.
Yeah, Shermanator was in it.
For no, I don't know. The story was just all over.
He played essentially the same role he plays in American Pie,
just slightly less horny.
Yes,
slightly.
Until you can go off for hours. Just go.
Yeah, I could.
The little weird people that were in it.
I keep working myself up because I could just talk about how there's a lot of stuff in the story that just didn't make sense. But
yeah. I do like how this is, I don't know what podcast this is that we've done so far, but every time we do it like the last Lord of the Rings movies where we keep fading to black.
Yeah.
And then we come back and be like, oh shit, guess what? There's more. We're gonna talk about.
Because I keep thinking of.
I remember going to see Return of the King with my dad.
Yeah.
And I probably had to pee for 2 hours, and I just kept holding it because I kept thinking it was about to end, but then it would just keep going.
Yeah,
it was brutal.
That shit was
I hope that ended okay for you.
I did, yeah.
Okay, it's and I didn't make it.
I think at one point I just got up and went and was like, I don't care if I miss something.
Yeah.
Came back and there was 5 more fake black scenes.
Yeah, I think movies like Lord of the Rings is the reason why I watch more TV shows now, because they're so long. I'm so funny, I'll be like, yeah, I don't feel like I have it in me to watch a movie.
And then you'll watch 5 hours.
Yeah, then I'll watch 4 or 5 episodes, and I'm like, I literally could have watched the whole movie by now. But I feel more accomplished because I finished 5 mini stories instead of one bigger story that's probably better put together. The logic's just not there. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's totally logical. 2 dudes like wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
They go to a wrestling show.
Oh, I wasn't talking about the movie.
Oh,
but yeah. No, I was talking about me watching TV shows of the movies. But yeah, no, 2 guys like wrestling. Their passion drives them, and it's funny because the fans are keeping better kayfabe than the wrestlers.
Yeah.
the fans are like, "Oh, you're the best," and he's like, "Bro, I'm fucking drunk in a like in my RV. Like, leave me alone. I just want beer. Like, none of this is real." So the whole kayfabe, the way they did that, I thought was pretty interesting. Definitely interesting. But I think that's where we leave it off for this one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, thanks for listening, guys. Thank you again to my friend Kevin, the artist. Kevin, would you like to plug any of your social medias if people would like to get a tattoo from you or possibly some artwork done?
You can look at my Instagram, which is Flock of Smeagol, just like the character from The Lord of the Rings.
Okay. And guys, just so you know, Kevin's done a lot of artwork for Ed and Teen Mortgage, and I actually have some stuff coming up with him as well pretty soon.
Shit.
And then Ed from Teen Mortgage and Tired All the Time, is there any links or anything or any stuff you'd like to plug while you're out there? If you're in the UK, maybe you want to see Ed play with Weezer and the Smashing Fucking Pumpkins. Maybe you've heard of them.
Yeah, I mean, we have like almost too much stuff to plug. It's like, how much time do you have? We're playing Louder Life Festival in Kentucky in the fall.
Okay.
We're going on tour with Death from Above 1979. We're gonna play Aftershock Festival around that same time. It's in, I believe, like Sacramento. Big kind of like rock and metal festival. We have an Audio Tree session that's gonna be coming out at some point.
I was about to say, you're going back to Audio Tree. We just went to Audio Tree.
It's not out yet. It's not out yet. And then, like, we have our whole tour around the Smashing Pumpkins and Weezer run. We're touring from here out to the west. Our own dual headline tour with Dire Spitz.
Okay.
And then we're gonna be playing Punk Rock Bowling in Las Vegas. And then we're gonna make it to mainland Europe for the first time and play from France to the Netherlands and Germany. And that's just like the next few months. We have a bunch of stuff for the fall that's not announced yet.
Okay.
So, always new stuff.
Well, I don't have as much cool stuff like that, but guys, you can always catch me streaming on Whatnot, SchwayWrestling.net. Make sure to cop a t-shirt on SchwayNostalgia.com. And make sure to check out for more podcasts, because from the sound of it, I might have 2 or 3 more. For the love of God, I wish Morty would stop trying to hump Kevin. He is being so aggressive right now.
You want to go out with some Morty sounds? Well,
oh, yeah. Morty, you have anything?
Morty.
Yeah. All I gotta say is take that, Brian Wilson. That's how pet sounds actually sound. That was a terrible joke. Anyways, thanks, guys. Appreciate the listen.